Malachi 1, 6-14 commentary. The Lord confronts empty worship. Malachi records the Lord's accusation against the priests who had lost their reverence for him. He begins with a simple truth: a son honors his father, and a servant respects his master. If the Lord is truly Israel's father and master, why is he treated with such contempt? Their outward profession remained, but their actions revealed a heart that no longer treasured him. The priests questioned the charge, asking how they had despised his name. Their blindness demonstrated how easily religious routine can dull spiritual perception. They believed they were faithfully serving God simply because they continued the ceremonies. Yet the Lord measured their worship by the condition of their hearts rather than the mere performance of religious duties. Polluted offerings reveal a corrupted heart. The Lord answered that they had offered polluted bread upon his altar. Instead of bringing the best of their flocks, they presented blind, lame, and sick animals, sacrifices specifically forbidden under the law. They gave God what they themselves would never have dared present to an earthly governor. Their offerings reflected what they truly thought of God. Worship had become an obligation rather than a privilege. Instead of seeing the altar as the place where God's covenant faithfulness was displayed, they viewed it as a burden that interrupted their lives. The problem was never simply defective animals. Those sacrifices exposed defective hearts. God desired sincerity, reverence, and faithfulness rather than careless religious activity. The temple service had become wearisome. The priests eventually complained, "What a weariness this is." They fulfilled their duties without joy or gratitude. Their service became mechanical because their relationship with the Lord had grown cold. Whenever worship becomes nothing more than external duty, it loses its purpose. The ceremonies themselves were never the ultimate goal. They pointed beyond themselves to God's greater work of redemption. Without faith, even the most carefully performed rituals became empty. God desired his name to be honored among the nations. In the middle of this rebuke comes a remarkable declaration. Open quote, "From the rising of the sun, even unto the going down of the same, my name shall be great among the Gentiles." Close quote. The Lord announced that his glory would not remain confined to Israel. The day was coming when the nations themselves would honor his name. This revealed God's purpose from the beginning, to bless all peoples through his covenant promises. The prophets consistently looked forward to a time when God's kingdom would extend beyond ethnic Israel. That promise reached its fulfillment through the establishment of the new covenant, as the message of Christ spread throughout the nations. The kingdom was no longer centered around one earthly sanctuary, but around the risen Messiah, whose people became his living temple. The end of the Old Covenant priesthood. The priests of Malachi's day represented a priesthood that had become corrupt. Their failure demonstrated the inability of the Old Covenant system to produce lasting righteousness through external regulations alone. The coming of Christ accomplished what those sacrifices anticipated, but could never complete. His once-for-all offering fulfilled the sacrificial system, removing the need for continual animal sacrifices. The earthly temple, altar, and Levitical priesthood belonged to an administration that reached its intended completion in him. Because the perfect sacrifice has been offered, believers do not approach God through repeated offerings upon an earthly altar. Access to the Father rests entirely upon the finished work of Christ. Giving God our best. Although Christians are not under the Levitical sacrificial system, the principle revealed in this passage remains timeless. God is worthy of wholehearted devotion. The Lord rebuked Israel because they reserved their best for themselves while offering him what cost them little. Genuine faith treasures God above convenience. The new covenant does not call believers to bring animal sacrifices, but to live in grateful response to the grace already given through Christ. Obedience is no longer an attempt to earn acceptance with God. Instead, it flows from acceptance that has already been secured through Jesus. Worship becomes the joyful expression of hearts that know they have been reconciled to the Father. The Great King. The chapter closes with the Lord declaring, open quote, "For I am a great king, and my name is dreadful among the heathen." Close quote. God's greatness does not depend upon human recognition. Whether honored or despised, he remains king over all creation. Malachi reminds every generation that God sees beyond outward appearances. He searches the heart, delights in sincere worship, and deserves honor that springs from genuine faith. The imperfect sacrifices of the Old Covenant have given way to the perfect sacrifice of Christ, through whom God's name is now proclaimed among the nations, and through whom his people confidently draw near to him forever.